Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Red Donkey Projections. I'm Lucas, and I have Eric here as always.
Hey guys.
And today we'll be discussing the 2021 gubernatorial elections in the state of New Jersey, our home state, and Virginia. I think we'll be dissecting a lot of New Jersey in this video since we do know a decent amount about it and make our predictions for the two elections. No surprise here, they are both going to go to the Democrats. Spoiler alert, in a pretty decent margin. And with that being said, let's get right into it. So the 2021 New Jersey gubernatorial election is happening this year. It's hard to believe it's already been 4 years since 2017. So Phil Murphy, who is the current incumbent governor of New Jersey, I think he's done a pretty good job with COVID. And I think the majority of Americans agree with that statement. And his approval rating is relatively decent. It did go up because of his COVID handling. He worked under Obama, I believe. He was the ambassador to, I want to say Germany, but I'm not 100% sure. But he was elected. He was the former executive at Goldman Sachs. And now on the Republican side, there's really not that many good candidates. The only one declared right now is Jack Ciattarelli. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he's run for many seats in the past before, and he continues to lose. He's the only, I want to say, decently experienced candidate here. I feel like in New Jersey, there are two well-known Republican candidates that are well-known enough to perform relatively well on the statewide level. Those two are Tom Kean Jr., who is the current Senate minority leader here in New Jersey, and Jay Weber, who was the former New Jersey GOP chair. I think he is still an assemblyman right now. So the thing is this, even if one of those two top-tier candidates were to run, Phil Murphy will be winning in a pretty large margin still, which we'll be explaining why throughout this video. However, with those two not in the race right now, the chances of a Republican winning is extremely bleak. If we throw in Tom Kean Jr. or Jay Weber, I'd say the chance of Republicans winning probably goes to around, I want to say like 7-8%. Right now, I give it like 4 or 5%. I don't think it's really likely that there's a chance that a Republican can unseat Phil Murphy.
So, and also one more thing to consider. So prior to Phil Murphy, the governor of New Jersey was Republican Chris Christie. And let's provide a little bit of context about who Chris Christie was and who he really turned into. So in 2009, John Corzine, that was his name, wasn't exactly the best candidate, pretty unpopular. And Christie won by around 4 points, which was kind of reasonable considering the context of the situation. Christie's first term goes kind of okay, and Republicans and overall the state of New Jersey does like him, and he does get reelected in 2013. But from there, it starts to go down. There were a lot of scandals that happened. He was very unpopular, one of the scandals being Bridgegate that sparked a lot of controversy and a lot of drama. It was basically like one of New Jersey's, like, basically the Watergate of New Jersey, which is why it's called Bridgegate. It was that controversial. And also he had to impose a government shutdown. And then after he imposed the shutdown, Chris Christie ended up walking on the beach that was supposed to be closed. So that also sparked a lot of controversy. And he was also term limited. So he was not going down as a fairly good governor after all the things that happened in his last term. So I think the Democrats and the rest of the state decided to take a break from the Republican Party. And then we have Phil Murphy and another Republican candidate who they believe is too aligned with Chris Christie, which is why Phil Murphy ends up winning, and he is not term limited, and he hasn't necessarily done anything bad per se. He isn't known for too many extreme controversies, which is exactly what the state of New Jersey wants, right? They just need a governor, and everyone thinks of politicians like this sometimes, that they just need to do their job without invoking tons and tons of controversy, which is exactly what Phil Murphy is doing right now. He handled the coronavirus relatively okay for New Jersey being the most densely populated state in the country. And once Republicans aren't putting up good candidates, so he has a pretty good shot at getting the gubernatorial seat again.
And I agree with you on that. And we can connect to 2017 here. For context, Kim Guadagno was Chris Christie's lieutenant governor. And she was very, very much tied to Chris Christie. She tried to distance herself throughout the entire campaign, but it failed. She kept getting tied back to Christie. And I think she was a terrible candidate for the Republicans to run in 2017. She was going to lose. At the time, Chris Christie, I believe, was the most unpopular governor in America. He had sunken down to that level. For more context, during his first term, he was incredibly popular. I think he was one of the most popular governors. I don't think he was one of the most popular, but he was at least in the top tier of popular governors in the country. By the end of his second term, he was one of the most unpopular, and that was truly seen when Kim Guadagno lost by 14 points. It was insane. But let's talk about why Christie did so well in 2013. So first of all, yes, Chris Christie was popular, and that really, really helped him. He won basically every single county in New Jersey, except for our county, Essex County, and another county here. I don't know why I don't remember the name of that one. But he swept New Jersey. He won everything. And the reason why that this happened was, first of all, his popularity, and two, as it says right here, after the death of Frank Lautenberger, who was a senator, there was a special election in 2013 that was going to be between Cory Booker and I believe it was Bell. However, Chris Christie decided to make the date of the special election earlier, with this potentially being because there could be higher minority turnout because Cory Booker would have been on the ticket, and more minorities would have turned down and voted for Barbara Buono. And I think Barbara Buono really wasn't too bad of a candidate. She was, solidly experienced. I believe she was, state senator, formerly the state majority leader. So she wasn't a bad candidate. It was just Christie was very, very popular at that time. But talking about it a little bit now, though, New Jersey has swung to the left, and I think that's a very fair statement to make. Trump did, pretty well in New Jersey in 2016. He got it down to a 14-point margin, which, of course, is a huge margin, but that dipped below our safe characterization. Now, recently in the 2020 election, it has swung to the left. And for the first time since 1964, Morris County, New Jersey, which is this county right here, which has been a Republican stronghold, flipped blue. And that was pretty interesting to see. And I do want to point out that's also very interesting because even though Joe Biden did well on the presidential level in this area, Tom Malinowski, whose district is around here, New Jersey 7, he narrowly won. He won by around 1 point. Now, if we look at the breakdown here, Joe Biden won the New Jersey 7th district by 10 points. And Malinowski only won by 1. And there's one factor that can be attributed to. Tom Malinowski was running against Tom Kean Jr. And that, again, is saying that Tom Kean Jr. is very well known in New Jersey. He's considered a moderate. I think he can win over independent and some Democratic voters. But again, even if he were to run against Phil Murphy, he would not stand a chance. I wouldn't see any chance of him defeating Phil Murphy.
And another indicator that kind of shows how much New Jersey swung to the left as of just a few years ago is the 2018 House races. So as you can see, New Jersey has completely become blue almost, except District 4. And that, once again, 2018 was a blue wave year, but it also is an indicator that shows how much to the left it swung. For example, usually the south of New Jersey, where districts 2 and 3 are Republican strongholds at that point. It's a fairly rural area, and there's not a lot of urban areas, with the exception of Camden in District 1, which is a safe Democratic stronghold. But in 2018, Van Drew won it, which is now a Republican, but in 2018 he won it, and the District 3, Andy Kim won as well. And that was pretty shocking to us. And once again, these margins, even in the state of New Jersey, very small. They went 2 points in those districts, 2 points. So this kind of just shows that New Jersey really, just as compared to just a few years ago when Christie was governor, has swung a lot to the left, which is going to help Phil Murphy really win the election. Once again, also being a decent incumbent.
Yeah, I know we might be chewing on fats here a little bit. We do want to make this point clear that New Jersey is not a toss-up state, and no Republican will be having a shot at beating Phil Murphy in 2021. And I just want to discuss this in particular. New Jersey 11th District, which is where we live. Mikey Sherrill defeated Jay Weber, who, as I said earlier in this video, is one of the two well-known GOP candidates in New Jersey. She defeated him handily by almost 15 points. And compare that to 2016, Rodney Frelinghuysen, who retired this in 2018, he won the district by, I want to say 30-ish points. This district had the greatest swing in the 2018 elections. And I think I remember who was it? I think it was Steve Kornacki kind of saying in 2018 that New Jersey 11 and Jennifer Wexton in Virginia 10, if Democrats didn't pick up these two seats, the night would have been a disaster. And the Democrats did pick up the two seats, but 11th district has swung to the left, and so is New Jersey as a whole. And I think New Jersey third with Andy Kim winning. I think this one was an upset. Many people didn't predict this to happen because Tom MacArthur was running for re-election, and that does go to show that even though it was a blue wave year, New Jersey has definitely swung to the left. All right, enough with New Jersey now. Let's head to Virginia. So Virginia has also swung a lot to the left recently. So if we look at 2008, let me actually pull it up right now. Barack Obama only narrowly won the state. However, the state has trended more and more to the left recently, with especially in particular, Northern Virginia has swung more and more to the left, more and more in favor of the Democrats. So that's why we are seeing a double-digit win for Joe Biden in 2020. Let me actually pull it up here. He won for the first time in a very long time for a Democrat by more than 10 points, double-digit win. So now, again, fast forward to 2020 here, or this is actually the 2018 House results. Democrats picked up a decent number of these seats. They picked up, I believe, 3 seats here. Virginia 10, which I mentioned earlier. This one was expected because of, again, how much Northern Virginia has swung to the left. Wexton was very much expected to win. Virginia 7 was a lot more surprising. This was Dave Bratt's seat. And if you remember correctly, and I believe, was it 2014? This was held by Eric Cantor, who was the majority leader of the House. He was defeated in the primary against Dave Bratt. And Dave Bratt, he lost the seat in 2018. So that is really interesting to see how Virginia has pretty much swung to the left quite a bit. And again, Spanberger won very narrowly in 2018. She won very narrowly in 2020. But Virginia is having a huge trend to the left. And it does say right here, Virginia's Democratic trend in recent years. So, Eric, would you like to start off and give a little bit of background to this election?
Yeah. So, we shouldn't be expecting basically any surprises. As Lucas has summed up like 30 seconds ago, Virginia had a very sudden swing to the left. Take 2008 election. Virginia hasn't gone to a Democrat in decades, right? And Barack Obama winning in 2008. And from there, that's where it took off. And Virginia's Democratic Party is, very prominent. And the same thing goes to the Democratic governors. We're not expecting a Republican challenger to overtake the Democratic challenger by any means, right? To give some more context, the governor here is term limited, and the Democrat is a fairly decent candidate. And for Virginia being a fairly Democratic state, it should go to him with little to no problem.
Right. Terry McAuliffe is the person who was expected to win the Democratic primary. He was the former governor before Ralph Northam. In Virginia, you're only allowed to hold one term before your term limit, but then you can run again for re-election after you wait out a term. Terry McAuliffe, we could see, Justin Fairfax could win, but right now, McAuliffe is the expected and predicted winner. Now, on the Republican side, the Republican Party of Virginia has been pretty bad at choosing candidates to run in elections. In 2018, they ran a pretty bad candidate against Tim Kaine. Again, 2020, they ran a pretty bad candidate against Senator Mark Warner. Both won in very, very decent margins. And there's no one here that stands out to me as a really good candidate. And I really don't expect any of the Republicans to really stand any of the chance to win. And the reason why is I'm expecting in Northern Virginia, we see a pretty huge swing to the left, and the Democrats will easily hold this governorship. And with that being said, that is the end of the video for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this episode, please like one. If you like our content, please subscribe. We'll see you in our next episode tomorrow.
See ya.